All right, well, we've got a really special guest here with me today. A guy I've now can say I've known for close to a decade or over a decade now in 2015. Yeah.
Crazy.
So I know it's wild. Brandon Saho, he's was a journalist and a reporter at LSU covering me with the Tigers in 16 and 17. And who would have thought, like we were speaking on before that, we'd be here doing a podcast talking about the mental side of the game. So I appreciate you for jumping on here with me, bro.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like you said, I never would have imagined this when I was a young reporter and you guys were catching me having some beers at the same student bars off campus that you guys were. But yeah, man, thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, no doubt. You remember that bar that you were at?
It was well, my favorite one was Bogies, which
But
I like. I feel like that wasn't Tigerland, so people didn't like it as much as the rest of Tigerland. But that was my
right,
spot. But that
right.
was JL's, I think, where you guys might have caught me having being overserved a little bit.
It happens. It's happened to the best of us. Yeah, I mean, if you ever end up stepping foot back into Bogies just to hang out or whatever, there might be a jersey or two of mine and Kramer's on the wall. I'm not sure. We might have spent a night or two there. But yeah,
All
no,
right.
Bogies, Tigerland, all that, undefeated. But yeah, look, I want to just jump in, give you a quick little, or give our audience a quick little background of, who Brandon is and what his life has kind of entailed. I'm not going to get too far into the details because obviously that's where I want him to come in. But in early 2010s, he began his sports journalism career covering athletics up in Baton Rouge, New Orleans. In 2018 is actually when he returned to his hometown in Cincinnati. We're still trying to figure out if he was mad at us for losing the World Series or not, if that's why he left. But he went back to his hometown. In 2021 is kind of when he, like y'all are going to hear, he met his breaking point. And, we can't wait to dive in to hear about all of that. And then later in 2021 is when he committed to his sobriety. November 22 is when he launched the Mental Game podcast that I'm sure y'all will hear a lot on today's podcast, What Heart Has a Limit about. And then in 2023 is when it kind of started jumping up a little bit. He started interviewing a bunch of big names like Terry Crew and Ricky Williamson on his podcast. And I could go on for days with all of these names. Very impressive, by the way. And then 2024 and 2025, the Mental Game podcast went across the nation, and they are going to 42 states, speaking to 150,000 people, impacting schools, sports teams, and community. And then the last thing I wanted to add right before I was getting on, I saw it. Congratulations on February 4th of completing 2 years of sobriety, man. That's pretty incredible
Thank you.
stuff.
That means a
So,
lot
did
to
I
me,
mess
man.
up anything?
No, I think you got it all right. It's crazy to look back at your journey on like a stat board, kind of like stats if you're, looking at baseball, seeing how your last few seasons went. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, man. No, thank you for sharing that. And I'm excited to dive into it for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, speaking of diving into it, let's just get right into it. I want you to share. Look, you had that 15 years of, you said you were battling depression, and what I think is kind of crazy, especially with you having to deal with this and nobody knowing. It's not like you had a normal job. You weren't going, all right, hey, Monday to Friday, I'm going in the office, sitting in a cubicle doing this. You're on TV. You were in
Mhm.
front of me, in front of all of my friends, like, and you're smiling. And honestly,
Yeah.
bro, at that time, like, I thought you were one of the most upbeat people. Always great to talk to. Was never
Yeah.
throwing the tough questions at us, trying to get us to like you had a ton of life. Um, what what was it that got you to that breaking point? Was it kind of a snowball effect, dude, or was it one thing that kind of set you off, or was it one final thing that was like, okay, I've been thinking about it, now I'm gonna do it. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I did a really good job hiding it, I think, like you said, behind a smile and laughing and just doing, the dream job that I wanted to do since I was 12, be a sports reporter, work at ESPN, be on TV, like that was the goal. And for me, honestly, getting to Baton Rouge and being on the field at LSU, whether it's football, baseball, in a big sports environment like that in the SEC, that's really where I grew up professionally for 2 years before I bounced to Cincinnati. But for me, it all started when I was 14. We didn't talk about this when we were in school. Our parents didn't say anything about it. No one really did. And so I'll never forget. And I don't think there's any limits on this podcast when it comes to filters. So I'm
No,
going to be very,
no.
very open. Freshman year of high school was for me in 2007. And I'll never forget being in the front row of a football game and seeing like a couple people on their phone, and then like turning around. I'm like, oh, okay, that's whatever. And then more people on their phone, and people starting to laugh and point and pass around phones. And so I kind of figured out that, over the last couple weeks before then, a girl had sent me a bunch of pictures. I didn't tell anyone, didn't say anything to anyone. I sent her one, and it got sent around the whole student section at the football game that day. And so
While you're there?
14-year-old. Yeah. While I'm sitting in the front row. So that's all going on behind me. And this was a different time. Like, I had a flip phone. This was no Snapchat, no TikTok. The only social media was MySpace. So those next 2 to 3 months at school were like super, super brutal. But that night after the game was the first time I went home, and I said, I can't do this. I didn't know what suicide was. I was like, I just don't want to live. I don't want to deal with this. I'm so embarrassed. It's going to hurt forever. And so that didn't last forever, obviously, that moment. But that feeling, I had no idea, like you mentioned, I'd have come and go for 15 years, whether it be struggling with the alcoholism, struggling with, maybe working crazy hours in sports and being in different cities and, other things. But for me, really, the biggest thing was feeling alone. And in Cincinnati, where I grew up, not everyone, but most people marry their high school sweetheart and stay in Cincinnati forever. And it sounds like cheesy and corny, but like, that's what I wanted. And so all my best friends, I watched them have that, or like had that, then turn into the marriage and the kids and the house and all that jazz. And that takes a toll on you. Yeah. It takes a toll on you over time. And so that was the biggest thing for me, was feeling alone, feeling like I'm never going to find someone. And that's where, turning to the alcohol, a lot of the depression, the suicidal thoughts came and went. So through college, that feeling would come and go maybe every 3 months. And then professional life, same thing. But then during the 2021 football season into the spring of 2022, after the Bengals lost the Super Bowl, no one had any idea that in that 3-month period leading up to the Super Bowl, like you were talking about when I'm with you at LSU, I'm smiling on the field interviewing Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and they're going to the Super Bowl, and I'm a Bengals fan inside because I'm from Cincinnati. It's a dream come true. But behind that smile, I was suicidal every second of every day for 3 months, and no one knew. I was hiding. I lost 3 family members in 3 months, including my cousin Ben, who's basically my older brother. He had a heart attack at 31. At the same time, had all this pressure on me at work. And then I mentioned the loneliness, the feeling of being alone, being single for a lot of my life. Thought I found, someone that could be my wife, was the one, start the family, the kids, all that. And unfortunately, that was a really toxic breakup. Looking back, probably a toxic relationship, and it fell apart. And so I hit this rock bottom where I didn't know what to do anymore. And so that's when, like, oh shit, I don't know where I'm going to go, what I'm going to do. I had so many nights of sitting on this bridge in Cincinnati until 3 or 4 in the morning. And that, final time is just when I finally had to go to my mom and dad and tell them, hey, you don't know this, no one knows this. And that was really the first step of me asking for help and then getting, into a hospital and treatment and stuff like that.
Wow. Yeah, thank you for sharing that too. I really appreciate that, especially for the audience. The aloneness that you said you felt, you had friends, right?
Yeah.
You had a bunch of friends, I can imagine. Can you explain that loneliness a little bit? Because I think it's like, I was lonely, or I was alone. And so when somebody first hears that, it's like, I've got nobody around me. I don't think, from what I'm hearing, that's not and obviously me personally knowing you, I know that's not what was happening. Yeah. What is that alone feeling that you were talking about?
It's funny. I was watching on Netflix, and I'm not comparing myself to this person at all, but Taylor Swift has this incredible documentary that shows like her last tour. And she gets off stage after being in front of 60,000 people, and she just sits down in like a hotel room and starts tearing up, and it's just like, it would be nice to like talk to somebody about this stuff, or to have someone to come home to. And like, that's, I think, that loneliness for me, where I never really had that. I mean, I had a couple of relationships throughout college and, my 20s into my 30s, but it was a lot of time like that alone feeling is just not having anyone and not even having yourself, which sounds really weird to say out loud, but I was just numbing my pain and those sorrows over those 10 years where, man, we joke about the Tigerland stuff, but like I went out 5-6 nights a week for like 10 years. I'd be out until 3 or 4 in the morning with maybe some people I don't know, doing some things I probably shouldn't be doing, just numbing that pain and kind of in this autopilot. And the real hard thing that I struggled with was like if I sat at home by myself, I felt alone. But I would still have 10, 12 beers and be a drunk. And then same thing when I go out, I didn't want to sit at home, but I might be at walk-ons or somewhere else for dinner, and then I'm sitting by myself and I'm going, fuck, I'm lonely here too. Even though I'm around people, or even if my friends show up later in the night. And so I think, yeah, it's hard when you see maybe some people like me or others that put on that smile all the time and are the jokester or seem like a high performer at work or in their personal life, but really you get home and you're like, I don't feel like I have a connection to anyone or anything. And that's the really, really hard part, especially when you're out like in person with people. Like that's like those same things. I'm just thinking back to like I'm still friends with a lot of the LSU athletes like you that, because I was a younger reporter, like I would see you guys out at the bars or like, some of my really good friends were waitresses and bartenders at walk-ons. Like I still keep in touch with them and they have kids and families and stuff now. And so do some of you guys, and that's awesome. But like I look back at those moments and it's like, yeah, I'd rip a shot here or there, like crack a joke. But you guys didn't know that I was like having those suicidal thoughts in my head or crying like on my walk back to my apartment next to campus. Like it's just you hold all that stuff in because you feel ashamed and you shouldn't share that and no one else feels like you do feel alone. It's really hard to explain if you haven't been through it. So like I love that you asked that question. It's almost an emptiness and you're just kind of hiding it behind a smile.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I've had, and obviously, as we grow up, we start learning about these situations, like the situation you're in. Okay, you look back and it's like, okay, I could have done this. Now I know. With you talking about, with you were home, drinking 10 or 12 beers, you felt alone, and then if you'd go out, you still felt alone. That obviously it kind of seems like you were trying to keep your mind busy by doing something, being around people, finding a substance to not make me feel what I'm feeling, which obviously there's so many people out there that have done. I want to talk on, I got something else I want to jump back into on needing it out, but I want to talk on you going out to the bars and stuff like that, because I think this is something I've definitely had the conversation with myself about at times, especially with some of my friends. But when you go out and you're going to a club or these, bars and stuff, and then there's people around, you have this exciting time. And usually average is around 4 hours. If you're going out, you're getting out from 10 p.m. to about 2 when they're closing. And it is just, especially a good night, a different kind of feeling, like on top of the world. Maybe you had a girl come up to you that night, or maybe you ended up meeting a dude that was super sick. We're going to have... But what you can fall into is like, oh, that next day, I feel alone, all this. I need to go back and get that. Well, what I've realized from going through it, and especially talking to a bunch of my friends, all of that is kind of like, it's all fake. It isn't reality. You cannot live at that level every single day feeling that dopamine hitting you. Yeah. So what I've tried to explain to my friends after I got it is like, you can enjoy this so much. You can go check in with people, and maybe if you want to have a drink. You're doing this with a person at the bar, all this, that's cool. But you have to be able to understand that this is not reality. This is not how I'm supposed to live. This is just a short little time to connect and maybe get the edge off here and there. But it is not an everyday thing. It's not an every weekend thing. It is not a thing I'm running to make me feel better.
Yeah, I used it, like I said, to numb the pain, and it's not reality. You're actually escaping it, but I was too scared to sit at home with it, or I had this hope in my head that one day I'm going to meet my wife out at one of these bars.
Right.
Like you said, maybe, talking to women or hanging out with the boys, and, kind of like you, when you're in a certain spot, like I wasn't a high level athlete, but I worked with a lot of them. And, like you said, I got to work on TV. So sometimes you get treated a little different and you get free drinks or you get free bottle service, or some cases there's some bars that just let me walk behind the bar and I'd serve myself. And it's like, be up in the
Thank you,
DJ
Muggsy.
booth. Like, yeah, exactly. Well, Baton Rouge, that for sure. Yeah. Once I got to Cincinnati, it was like another level of it.
Oh yeah, I
But
can
it's,
imagine.
yeah, it's crazy to hear you say all that stuff, like just lay it out there, because it's like an equation of like, we know it's this, we know it's that, and then you go, well, why the fuck did I do it for so many years? Like that's the hard part now, is like being just over 2 years sober. I go, I will never drink again. I don't understand why people do. I don't care if people do around me. I just know that, like, for me, I can't do it, because it's kind of like going to the gym and you seeing those results pay off, or like, you hitting in the cage, putting in extra time, and all of a sudden your average is going from 250 to 315, and then you're like, wow, it's because of that hard work, it pays off. The same thing with sobriety,
Yeah.
same thing with going to therapy. That has really helped me. But I look back and I'm just like, I mean, I'm not kidding, dude. I went out when I was back in Cincinnati. I was out every night from Tuesday to Saturday. I got off work at like midnight, because that's how, if there's college football games or the Bengals are playing, you work all day, you do the post game shows. It is like absolutely insane to look back at that, where, I mean, probably for a 5-year stretch, I'm just saying averages out there, and this isn't me bragging, it's just trying to put in perspective. I'm a tiny guy. I'm 5'8" with a good, on a good hair day. But like I know I'm weird. But I did, I probably had 10 to 12 beers and maybe 6 to 8 shots a night. And I'm going out with some of these guys that are 4 times my size, that used to play in the league or maybe party even more than I do. And so it's crazy just looking back at that and going, like you said, that's not reality. It's not normal. But it became my normal and some of our normals, because we didn't want to address some of the mental health things we were struggling with, or maybe career changes, relationships, friendships. A lot of people use those substances to cover up. I mean, and like, I'll be honest, dude, I can't escape reality at all anymore. It's not possible for me. That's the thing that I struggle with the most, where like, even today, like, I'm having fun with you in this hour, us talking, but I just have like so much shit going on. And I'm like, fuck, if I could just get drunk or get high and have this like hour, that would be awesome. And then the thought goes away after about 10 seconds because of what I know now. But I still struggle with that thought sometimes.
You think that's always going to be there, or do you think it's at some point going to go away?
I think it's always going to be there. I don't think it's not like it doesn't come up every day. Like, I have this moment maybe like once a month. And like I said, it lasts 10 seconds. But, I'm an addict with whatever I do. Like, work's one of them. Alcohol is one of them. Any type of drug I try, it's one of them. So like, my friends would joke with me because I have trouble sleeping. They're like, hey, why don't you go California sober and still smoke? I'm like, because you don't understand. Just like drinking, if I have a bad Wednesday, I'll stop at 11 a.m. and just start until I'm numb. I would do the same thing. I mean, dude, I couldn't fall asleep, and I hate admitting this, but it's like, I got to the point where, because I abused my body so much with drugs and alcohol, my tolerance is different than most people, where I was abusing Benadryl, like, at night, like getting high off Benadryl to go to bed. Like, that's not okay. It's not normal. I've worked with my therapist and my doctor to find like, sleeping medication that does help me now. But because of my usage in the past, I'm always going to have to up those dosages. And so I have to catch myself sometimes when I go, hey, I'm having a non-alcoholic beer, but those sleeping pills are hitting in. I can kind of feel a little drowsiness. It's almost like I get that 10 minutes before I go to bed of that feeling, which I don't want it to be that, but I'm just being honest with the way it works.
Yeah, no. Yeah. No, I mean, that you saying I'm just being honest with, I had that thought once a month now, it's only for 10 seconds, or, I do have this Benadryl feeling. I'm going to bring up an example from one of my friends. It's been going through a little tough stretch, been working through it and all that stuff. And he came to me probably 6 months ago, and he was just like, hey, how are you always so in control, so upbeat? Like, you've got everything you need to do, schedule and all that stuff. And I looked at him and I was like, bro, what makes you think like I'm not dealing with stuff either? And he's like, well, I'd never see it or anything like that. And I'm like, bro, I'm freaking out up here right now. I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
Just some people show it a little different way or don't show it at all. The point I'm trying to get to is with you smiling on TV or him looking at me like, oh, you always got this going on with this. Like, it's never as it seems from afar, ever. And especially what I want to jump back into at some point is like the social media stuff. Like, who's going out there posting, I just failed 2 weeks in a row? No, you don't hear anything for 2 weeks. And on the third week, when they pass it, hey, I just passed it. What about the 2 weeks of dark dungeon time? So when people start comparing themselves to, oh, I want to be like that, like he's never struggled. Dude, nobody knows what people are dealing with. Like, nobody knows. And that's going to lead me to my next thing. When you were saying you feel like alone and all that stuff, it seemed like you needed that out, and that ex-girlfriend at the time, or your girlfriend at the time, was your out. And then as soon as, that the toxic part or whatever happened, you all came to an end, it was like, okay, now I don't have my out, and everything else that was happening before is now accumulating, and it's making one. Do you have that out now? Do you have that person that's an out, or do you have a type of program you go to? Maybe my out is I need to write everything down. Do you have that? Because I know for a fact, as I've gotten older and grown up, my biggest ace in the hole is my parents, and especially my dad, obviously being a guy in sports. There is I can say 100% chance I would not be where I am without him talking me off the ledge. And I'm not saying suicide or anything. I'm just talking about me freaking out, thinking I'm not a baseball. Like, if baseball isn't with Cole Freeman, he's nobody. All of these things. He talked me off the air quotes ledge every single time. It's not that big of a deal. It's not this and that. Do you have that out now? And do you think that would have made that big, big difference to just go out there and spill everything and then talk you down?
This is going to sound maybe to some people like a dumb answer, but I'll explain it. I have myself for the first time ever. Like, I've never.
That's a great answer, though.
Thank you.
That is.
No, it is. It is because I never loved myself. I never felt like I was enough. I was always looking for outside things. The main thing being a relationship and a wife one day, which I still hope I have, and that's fine. But, like, I was looking at jobs, what people thought of me on social media, what free drinks I was getting, how many retweets this got, things like that outside, where I was looking for all this validation outside of myself. And so about a year and a half ago was the first time that I ever sat here and was like, okay being alone. Like, I'm not alone, but I'm okay with it. Like, it's kind of hard to explain, but I'm not. Again, the big thing is the dating thing, but like, I don't care. Like, I haven't been on a date in like over 2 years. I that sucks, I guess, but it's not like tearing me down every single day. Like, I would wake up and be like, when am I going to meet my wife?
Your life isn't depending on that. Right.
Yes, and that's the thing that changed my perspective on everything. And obviously the alcoholism, being sober now, that helps a lot too. So really just having myself, I think in that what came with that was this purpose, which is two in the same, between having myself and then finding this new purpose with working in mental health and the podcast and speaking and meeting so many different people all over the world. That has completely changed my life, because even like when we were recording this, like, I think I saw you dislike it right before. Like, I sat in this chair last night and cried my eyes out and read my goodbye letter for the first time in 3 years. And I just talked about the significance of having, my ex and I, might not be together. I haven't seen her, talked to her in years. I'll never talk to her again. But she loved and cared about me. And when I was at that rock bottom, she was the only one that knew. So she called my family. She called my parents. She called and stayed on the phone with me while I was at that bridge. So me putting all that stuff out there constantly on the internet, I was so fucking scared, dude, the first time I did that. Like, I wasn't on TV for 3 weeks, and I was like, are people going to think that, I don't know, there's some scandal or affair or what's going on? And so I put on Twitter and Instagram just like a lot of the things I just told you over the last 20 minutes of, I've been suicidal since I was 14. Here are some of the thoughts. I went to get help. Now I'm addressing it. And that response is what changed my life, because people said, oh my God, I had no idea. I struggle with this too, all the way up to like I got 5, 6 emails that said, hey, I was at the same point you were 3 weeks ago, and seeing this letter made me want to go get help. And that's when it like changed for me. If this little sports reporter might be able to help a few people, what if I get these NFL players that I know, or even bigger celebrities and stars that influence our culture to talk about it? And really, that's how the mental game was born. And I know we'll get into that, but like my favorite thing about it isn't even sitting down like in this studio. Like I never thought in a million years I'd live in Los Angeles. I love it here. It's sunny 24/7. Things happen all the time. Like I just saw Theo Vaughn and David Spade and a bunch of people last night at the Comedy Store. Like I love being here, and people can come in and out whenever we want and shoot episodes. But my favorite thing, man, is like what we did at LSU last year with LSU Athletics and Joe Burrow's family and the Rain Will Bring Flowers Foundation. We had 2,000, 3,000 people there, and I share my story. But then it's an open discussion where we talk to people, and people come up to me and share, and we cry together and hug. I mean, I'll save that so when we get into it, but like that's my favorite part. That's my purpose.
Yeah.
I've had those conversations with thousands of people over the last 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to just piggyback off of that real quick, and then we're going to get right back into that because that was honestly going to be my next question. But with you saying about opening up and talking about it, and obviously that's – you go through it 1,000 times in your head, and it was whenever you're ready, it's not going to be like any of the 1,000 times in your head.
Right.
I don't know even if, and it's not really out there too much too, but it fits to kind of bring it up. But I kind of dealt with something not to that extreme, but something that was physically hurting me because I was dealing with it so long in my head, and I was so embarrassed to talk about it. And still, honestly, if I'm being honest, still a little bit today. Still a little bit of shame attached to it, but I'm by far the best that I've been, and I know I'm going to get better at it. But I had that wrist injury that I was had at LSU a little bit, and then ended up getting to pro ball and had to go straight into rehab with the wrist injury. So I don't play all that year, whatever. We come back, and I start working with the infield coach, and they want to redo my mechanics, which I've never done in my life with throwing, and they want me to play shortstop and third. And I'm like, you want me? And they had brought up the name Trey. They're like, you want to be the next Trey that was playing for Washington? He was a dual guy, infield, outfield. Like, yes, whatever you want to attach my name to with him, for sure. So we tried out all that stuff. Long story short, it ends up messing me up to the point of I hated playing baseball at the end of it. I could not throw some days from 90 feet away, like within a 10 feet margin. But then some days I was totally fine. And the thing that was eating me up so much was this was when the height of Heart Has No Limit was just coming out. Now my name is attached to this story, and this story means you don't fail as long as your heart is in it and you put the work in. Well, this was the first time in my life that I was terrified because it wasn't work. Like, it wasn't like physical work that I could go out there. Because I promise you, my info coach and coordinator over there, Garb, he worked with me more than anybody. And we put the work in, but I could start to recognize that this is not helping. And so then it started kind of festering in my mind now, like, whoa, this can't happen to you. You're Cole Freeman. You went to LSU. Your heart has no limit. Your stories change people. You got to keep going, because if you don't, they're not going to keep going. And it's like, what is going on? Like, my head felt like it was about to explode. And then I start showing up. There's a dark cloud over the field every day. I'm not eating. I called my dad after I ended up getting released, and I went to Indy Ball, and I was driving to the field one day. And I had slept till noon that day. We had to be at the field at, 12:45. I was sleeping from when I got home all the way, wasn't eating. Yeah. And I'm driving to the field, and I feel like almost like I yawned, and like water's coming down. But I didn't yawn. And I look, and I'm like crying. But I'm not crying. I'm like, cognitively, I'm there. I'm like, yeah. So I was freaking out. I called my dad. I'm like, Dad, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm freaking out. Like, I'm crying. Like, I feel like I'm good inside, but like, obviously my emotions are coming out. And he told me, he's like, look, I think you're hitting depression for the first time. Like, you've had all these good things happen, and then the last, 2 to 3 years have been tough. And I think it's just hitting you. And then that's when I'm like, okay, I don't know if that's the mindset that I've always had with the hard ass loan, because I wasn't gonna let me it beat me, but I'm like, I I don't know what else to do here besides just keep going. And so I just kept going, and all I kept practicing was trying to reframe every scenario that I had bad in my head to try and look at it in a good scenario. And so once I finally was able, which it took me a year to be able to talk to anybody, even really my family outside of my dad, after that started happening, I started changing into, oh, Cole Freeman, this can't happen to him, because if it does, then nobody else is going to believe in him and all that stuff, to why don't I try and figure it out? I be the guy that figure it out. And then once I figure it out, now I can go show and help people. That transition in my mind, or reframe in my mind, was everything, because I took the same problem that I had and that was causing me so much chaos and heartache and distress, and turned it into some motivational and, exactly, let's lead into it, purpose. Exactly what I wanted to talk to you about. Is that what started the podcast, A Mental Game?
Yeah, but before I say that, can I say one, I'm proud of you? Like, dude, that takes so much shit. Like, I know from knowing you personally and being around you at LSU and seeing other guys, like we talked about, seeing Josh playing for the Rangers, winning a fucking World Series. Sorry for saying the F word, but being around for that, like a guy that was your age that I cover with the Reds, Jonathan India. I was there the day he got drafted. He's with the Reds for a while. Like, you compare yourself. I'm sure I do it now in my profession, and it can take a toll. And so for you to realize that, and your pops to be like, hey, my dad was not supportive right away. My dad has been is an alcoholic. He dealt with losing his father when he was 27. He went through a divorce with my mom. We've gone through a bunch of stuff together. We're great now, best friends. We talk about mental health more than ever. But to have that support for your father, I'm sure we got a lot of baseball players and men watching and listening. Having that support system right away, that's a huge advantage. But for you, I didn't know you the best, but you're right. Cole Freeman that I talked to on TV, that I saw on social media, you can give a fuck if what was going on. You were going to be the best, and that's all that mattered. And so for you to admit that stuff and to get help and talk with your dad and other people, and now what you're doing, with your foundation, congrats, bro. I'm really proud of you.
I appreciate it. Just trying to follow like you. Just trying to follow you.
I don't
bro.
know about that. Sorry, I'll answer questions now instead of
No, you're good, dude. No, but that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. What inspired you to say, okay, I'm going to do a podcast? Was it when you opened up about it? Was it that message? I was thinking from that person, I was thinking this 3 weeks ago. Was it okay, this is what I'm called to do? It feels like this is what God's purpose was. I'm going to go out there, and this tragic incident that could have been isn't, and now I'm going to make it for something special.
Yeah, it's turned into my purpose. I didn't know it was at first. I knew that I had this new kind of little passion for mental health, but I didn't know what it would lead to. And so, I had no real plan 2 weeks before my contract was up at NBC in Cincinnati. And so my brother designed this logo. He's an awesome graphic designer. And then I hit up Sam Hubbard, he's defensive end for the Bengals, and was like, hey, man, I'm going to try this idea. Can I just shoot a test episode at your house? And that ended up becoming the first episode. And I had the I hate to say it this way, but I had the balls to leave my job with no money, no savings account. I was still drinking. I still was partying. I had no money, but I knew I wanted to do this. And so, over time, seeing it grow, like you mentioned, February 4th, 2023, that's when it all changed for me. A year after I quit my job almost, or maybe about 8 months, is because I woke up hungover for the last time, and I'm just like, dude, you can't keep fucking doing this. You quit your job. You're about to move into your mom's basement at 27, 28 years old. Figure it the fuck out. And so that's when it took a turn where I started getting maybe bigger guests or better interviews, and things really started to grow for the first time. But at the same time, I'm dealing with some of the hardest stuff still, not the suicidal thoughts, the depression. I've been through, I think, the hardest chapter of my life, and I'm using those tools, and I know how to get out of it now, or how to help myself in those moments. But what no one saw, unless you lived in Cincinnati and I picked you up, I was fucking driving Uber like in between interviewing Terry Crews and Kevin Gates and all these people. Like I wasn't living out in LA. I didn't have all this money. I literally would get recognized like 50% of the time when I'd pick people up, and I was so embarrassed, and I would like lie and be like, "Oh, I just don't drink anymore, so I'm just trying to meet people as a great." And I was like, "No, I needed that $500 that night to be able to fly to LA and interview these people." And so it eventually became my purpose. I think kind of like me figuring out how to love myself, this has become my purpose over the last year and a half, where I live, breathe, eat it. I mean, it's my favorite thing that I do. Like it's a job. Yes, it's how I, support myself, but what we're able to do, I'm not saying this in like an egotistical way, but it's like factually in our numbers, like to be able to know that millions of people have seen what we've done, and that we're able to affect thousands in person whenever we're doing an event at a company or a school or a conference. Like that is the thing that is like, wow, this is my purpose. Like every time I'll stay afterwards at an event, and unless I got somewhere else to go to in that city that day for another event, I mean, I've stayed places. Usually I'll stay for at least an hour, hour and a half. I've stayed at places for 3.5 hours, meeting every single person, listening to their stories, trying to help however I can. That's when I know it's my purpose. So yes, those messages in the beginning definitely like probably gave me a little spark in my head. Mm-hmm. But now, like even looking around while I'm doing this interview with you, it's like I'm just looking around at like all the pictures on the wall that no one can see when I'm talking about it, like all the episodes we've done, or these thousands of signs that we're mailing out right now that are free suicide prevention signs all across the country. It's like 100% my purpose, man. I love this shit, and I mean that in the best way possible.
Well, you can definitely hear it in your voice. So, I mean, obviously that's incredible. I was thinking the same thing when you sent me the picture right before you're like, "Oh, I'm setting up," and I saw your whole setup, and I'm like, that setup doesn't just happen. Like, as I'm finding out, this equipment's expensive. Like, and and I was like, it is cool to see, like, especially hear it after just, with the Uber ride and all this stuff to where you are now. But isn't it crazy? I want to touch on something that you said. You were embarrassed Ubering because you needed some money. You know what's embarrassing is not Ubering when you need money. Why is it that we think like, oh, I need to go Uber, so I'm a little embarrassed? Why? Your work ethic is right where it needs to be. Your drive is right where it needs to be. Like, and believe me, I'm the exact same. I'm saying for like the broad spectrum of everybody. Like I've thought the exact, oh, I'm not going to do that because of that. Well, why? How do you not have respect for somebody that will take a step back to get 2 steps forward where they're trying to go?
Yeah, I think it was honestly like just people recognizing me. It was so deflating.
Yeah.
Because like what you see on the internet is not always real, and that's okay. But what ended up happening was after like 2 or 3 weeks of that happening, because I did it for almost a whole year, I go, okay, I can take this and turn it into something like positive. And so when people would recognize me or ask what I'm doing, we would just talk about their stories. Like you can't film it, obviously, for privacy reasons with Uber.
Right.
But like that's another podcast.
Imagine the stories you heard.
It was really, really hard in the beginning. Also the hours, because like to make any money Ubering, you have to work late at night and deal with the drunk idiots that I used to be. People are great. It's fun. But we've all been there. It's like I would work Thursday through Saturday from like 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. and then drive 20 minutes out of the city back to my mom's basement to sleep and then wake up and try to figure out the podcast stuff for the next day. It's like, I think, it's not an uncommon thing. Like everyone that gets somewhere and lives those dreams or does what they want and achieves things, they go through hard shit, whether it's mental health or working jobs they don't want to work. Like, I had Bryce Vine on here, who's an amazing rapper and singer, and him and I are comparing, like, he drove for Lyft. I drove for Uber. So we're, like, comparing the stories. And he, like, used to play his music and see if people would like it. Now he's got, like, songs that are all over the fucking radio.
Now he just turns the radio on.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's there. It's not I was ashamed of it in the beginning, but then it kind of helped me grow as a person, and I really, really enjoy that chapter of my life. Do I want to go back to it? Not really, but if I have to, I will. Like, I got the same Jeep. I know that still got the app downloaded. They asked me if I want to drive every once in a while. I'm like, no, but thank you for asking. Yeah, it just became another part of my story, but it's definitely a motivating factor, and I think a lot of people can relate to it.
Another part of your story is exactly what I think a lot of people should think about when they're in a scenario that they're not happy with. I started hearing this word seasons when I got around my two partners, Joel and Brendan Hitzman, and they would always talk about, yeah, what season are you in right now? I'm like, the off season? I'm not in season right now. And he's like, no, like in your life. And I started like breaking it down, and that season to you, what you just said, you wouldn't change it because it taught you so much. But you don't want to go back to that season. There's no problem with not wanting to go back there, but you're grateful for it. And I think that's when people get discouraged a lot, is that they're in one of their tougher seasons right now. And maybe they're not looking at it as a short period of time, a month, 2 months, maybe 6 months, whatever it is. But they're looking at the entire thing and it's like, overwhelmed, I can't do this. No, why don't you look at this season like you did Uber and like many of us have when we've had tough times? Like, wait till I get to tell the people what I had to do to get here. Wait, because my partner, Brendan, said it the absolute best. I thought starting this foundation, with my name being around here, all this stuff would be a lot easier than it was. Completely wrong. Didn't know this world, all that. Grateful for it, for all them teaching. But he said, you know what, Cole? He's like, do you think it would have been cool if you started the foundation and then within a month you got, 3 LSU boosters that donate $500,000 total and you're good and up and running? He goes, that don't fit the story at all. It don't fit the brand. And I step back and I'm like, I'm supposed to struggle. And Lord, we have struggled at times for sure, but we keep going and we're getting a little bit better every single time. So I think to wrap up the whole point of this is embrace the season that you're in, understand, and as we say in baseball, embrace the suck, but it's not forever and you're going to come out on the other side better. Have those people to lean on, whatever you can to get by it, and then learn from it and go on. That's tremendous. Well, to touch on some of the other obviously incredible names that you've interviewed, is there a common theme that's emerged from all these conversations that you've had, or how has it helped you shape your understanding of actually what mental health is? Because now you're hearing it from all these people, all these successful people. How is being around them and hearing them kind of trained your mind into stuff that maybe you've picked up?
I always get asked, like, who's my favorite guest or what's my favorite, answer. And really the answer is the question that you asked of what's the theme. Everyone struggles. It doesn't matter if you're playing in the Super Bowl, you have songs on the radio, you're in movies in Hollywood, like you're listening to this podcast, we're doing the podcast now. Like, we all go through the same shit. And so for me, that's been the biggest thing that I've been able to share, and I think a reason why the show has grown like it has, or be able to help so many people like it has, is because it's relatable. It's not a TMZ interview. It's not like, it's not trying to get you. It's literally, people come on here. I don't pay them a dime. They want to open up. They want to help people. That's the idea. And so for me, that has been kind of the life-changing part of it, is learning and growing. I mean, I've had some people that I sit down with that I'm just like, I don't know if I have anything in common with them, but let's see. And then all of a sudden our stories are the exact same. Saraya, who used to be in WWE, named Paige, I think she's about to make her return. It's going to be sick. But like, I'm not a big wrestling person, so I didn't really know a lot about her story. And then I hear about, some of the abuse she dealt with. I hear about her addiction problems and some of the depression that ran in her family. And like, for 20 minutes, our stories are the same. And so that's the beautiful part, is that you can learn and grow with people that you may not have ever met if it wasn't for this thing called mental health. And so for me, that's really an amazing thing. And you talk about those seasons. There's two things that I always talk about with mental health. Number one, you have to do something. You got to reach out. You got to talk to somebody, ask for help. But number two is that season thing you talked about. Feelings are temporary. It's not going to last forever. They aren't facts.
Great saying.
I get asked all the time that, do you regret what you went through? Would you change anything? Yeah, I wish I wasn't on a bridge for 2 years thinking about taking my life and dealing with a traumatic and toxic relationship. But I wouldn't change any of it, because I wouldn't be doing this interview with you. I wouldn't have.
You wouldn't be where you are.
I wouldn't have this purpose Yeah, without it. So it's completely changed my life, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's been really, really special.
Yeah, but I think you looking back at it, like obviously, yeah, it's easy to say, oh, I would take all that back. Well, exactly what you said. You probably wouldn't be here. Most likely, you
Yeah.
wouldn't be at this spot right now. Oh, I'd
Yep.
like to take all that toxicity away and had my mental game. Okay, well, maybe you had to go through that tough time in those tough years because the next 15 years are going to be like something you've never imagined because you are
I
now
hope
battle
so.
tested. You are battle tested. You're proven. You've went through it. You've lived through it. Now you're about to change the world, dude. I
But
strongly
but
believe
but
in that.
well, thank you for that. But I still have hard times now. Are they as bad as maybe when I
And you will
started this?
exactly.
Yeah. I did the hardest part already, I think, in my personal and professional life. But I still have tough times now where like the no's you get in this business. Like I'm not a fucking Hollywood person. Sorry, I'm cussing a lot, but it just kind of feels
No,
like
you're good,
with a
dude.
ball player. I feel like I should have a chew in too, but I don't do any of that.
Come on.
But my no, but it's like I get rejection all the time. Like I'm pitching, maybe a docu series, or I'm thinking about a book and different things, and it's like you you get rejected all the time. You got to bounce back up. And so knowing those feelings are temporary and knowing those chapters are always going to be there, but now having the tools to recover and the coping mechanisms and the things that help you, that's the biggest key when it comes to those moments coming back up.
Yeah, no, I agree. I want to talk about the sobriety part real quick because I think everybody's dealing with people that are drinking too much or alcoholism or
Yeah.
drinking's getting in front of their work life or whatever it is. How has the absence of alcohol overall helped your mental health and shaped how you're thinking today? Like obviously it wasn't alcohol that drove you to all this. It was a bunch of factors, but the alcohol factor was obviously not helping. How much of these last 2 years of it just completely being out of your life do you give props to? I guess it just you give all of that, or you give most of it to not drinking and stuff. Because I feel like the drinking is kind of that trigger. Like, oh, I'm bad, drink, finalize.
Yep. Yeah. I would never be able to do what I'm doing now or the last 2 years without going sober. And so it just as much as therapy and that hospital stay for being suicidal, sobriety has also saved my life. Those two things go hand in hand. And so, yeah, I would never be able to do what I'm doing now. I thought I was never going to be able to go sober. It was really tough in the beginning, but now it's so easy.
How long was it
great.
tough for?
I
What do you say
did.
your toughest times?
I probably failed maybe the first 5 or 6 times. I would get to like day 3 or 4 and then just say fuck it and go out and get hammered with people or who I was dating at the time or whatever. And finally it got to like maybe 2 weeks, that fifth or sixth time, and I was like, oh shit. I had this notebook, which I wish I had with me, that I just kept in front of me. And it's the same notebook that I had at the mental health hospital where I would like write some things down to help me when I was struggling with my mental health. And on the last 4 pages, I just started writing Roman numerals or marks. And so every day, my favorite thing, I got up, I'm like, all right, I'm at day 12, I'm at day 20, I'm at day 30. And then like getting to day 100, that 100, I was like, this feels big. Like this is a big deal to me. And so those first 100 days were really, really tough. And it was a lifestyle change too, because I wasn't going out anymore.
Yeah,
I was
that's
maybe 2 or 3 nights a week, but like my perspective completely changed because I couldn't have those shots. I couldn't maybe do those things I was doing until 4 in the morning. Like it, yeah,
feels like
that
your
was really,
character's
really hard.
changed almost. Like, oh, I'm not me. Like I'm
Yeah,
a
no,
totally different person.
right. Like I wasn't where like people in Cincinnati would know like, hey, Sayo's gonna come in, he's gonna party, he's gonna buy people shots, he's gonna pour his own drinks, he's gonna be in the DJ booth,
Yeah,
he's gonna be funny, like, and then
that
all of a
energy
sudden
you're
I'm
feeling
like,
walking in.
yeah, like all of a sudden I'm not the star of the show, and I don't want to be there after like an hour. Like it was really, really hard in the beginning, and I tried to like go out to hang on to that, but then I just outgrew it. Where like again, I don't care what people do. If they're happy doing it, they can enjoy going out one night a week. That's fine. I can't. So yeah, that was the hardest part. Now it's amazing. Like I'll be honest, it's getting up to like 95 today in LA. I'm gonna have an NA beer as soon as we're done with this, and maybe throw some baseball in the backyard. The boys at the house, I live in a guest house, and this is where the studio's at too. And like the
Mhm.
main house, there's two boys, 12 and 13, and they play baseball nonstop. And so I might play wiffle ball with them in the backyard or toss baseball just to get
A
out in the
couple
sun and
dingers,
have a
whatever.
beer. Yeah, exactly. No big deal, dude.
That's
But yeah, it
sick.
completely
That
changed
is
my
so
life,
sick.
man.
Yeah. Well, when I was liking that video, like you shared earlier, that I saw about 30 minutes before we started this, also wanted to bring up that I'll end up reposting on my story too, the Yahoo article about how
Yeah.
men are drinking less, and you're on front cover. That's you on the front page of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, we did that interview last week. I just got a random email from I was a journalist, so I know what those emails look like. And she
Right.
was like, "I'm doing this study on, younger men not drinking as much. Do you want to like talk about it? Talk about, the podcast, your experience with sobriety?" And I was like, "Heck yeah!" And I was surprised by those numbers, like the fact that
Mhm.
young men now. I can never remember the generation names now. Like I'm a millennial, I know there's Gen Z,
Gen
whatever. I
Z,
can't keep
X,
straight
whatever.
with it. But yeah, but like basically younger men in maybe college up to mid 20s, later 20s, younger women are binge drinking more than younger men for the first time ever. Which like that isn't a fault on women. Like women do
Right.
things way better than men, like talking,
Yeah.
expressing your feelings, and
Agreed.
taking care of your mental health. But it was interesting to see that and have that conversation. And so, yeah, that was really powerful to see that it's actually a trend. It's not just me.
Yeah.
It's like there's a reason why I'm going through this, and I think a lot of
You're part of
men.
the trend.
Yeah, well, it's you can. I think men when they hear us talking like this on a podcast
Mhm.
or maybe see something on Reddit, it hits a little bit different than like obviously them not seeing that at all, but maybe seeing something come up on the news or their parents saying something. Like this is a lot more relatable to them. And that helped me. Like listening to, guys like Theo Vaughn and Logic talking about the reasons why they got sober or what helped them get to their points. Jack Harlow, like
Right.
these types of names, like hearing men that accomplish things that I want to accomplish, that helped me get sober, honestly.
Yeah. You're not putting them up on this pedestal anymore. You're realizing that they are just another human. They're just successful. It doesn't mean they were born without the ability to be depressed. They
Right.
are still the same. It's just you have, and I think that's what we do as people a lot is we idolize somebody and they can do no wrong. They have no struggles. They are Superman. That's not the reality of it. Awesome. Yeah. Well, I've got two more for you before we wrap up. You've obviously spoke on the points of giving up and what keeps you going in those darkest times. And like you said, if it's those darkest times for 10 seconds, what is it?
Yeah.
Is it I've gone this far, so I don't want to give up, or I will never go back to that person? Or do you have multiple things? Because I agree with you writing down. Do you brought up the notebook?
I love that. Heck yeah.
Exactly, dude. It's the same. I do the exact same. I struggled with when I ended baseball. I had all the time in the world to do whatever I wanted, and it didn't matter. I didn't have to work. That almost broke my brain because I had never not had something to wake up and go focus on. And what I started doing, which I noticed from my mental health, was I started writing an affirmation every day, and then I started writing everything I had to do. And say I didn't do that right in the morning, I did it midday, I would still write down everything I did, and then I would go check that box off. And for some reason, it made me feel better up here. And then everything just kept going. And it's the slightest thing. And then when I get a little anxiety, I'm getting ramped up with stuff in 2 days, what did I not do? A lot of times, it's this. I didn't come to this. I'm like, what is this having to do with everything? But it's everything. What is it that, that keeps you out of them or gets you right back into that good spot, even if it is that 10 seconds for 1 month?
I think it's a mix of things. I think it's me realizing that it's a purpose that's bigger than myself now where I could quit this tomorrow, but like why would I? Like we're able to help so many people. Like is it I don't live in LA because I'm like rich and famous. I'm still that guy that was driving Uber or didn't have any money, when he was a sports reporter because pays maybe not as high as you want it to be and still drinking a lot and spending money. But like, I would rather like grind and still chase than give up because it's too much. Like, and so I think that kind of keeps me going, but also just the culmination of seeing how it helps people, including myself. Like, is it a lot sometimes to meet 400 people in person and take pictures and say one-on-one conversations for 3 hours? Yes. But at the end of the day, I learned so much and I'm able to help people and people help me. I wouldn't trade it for the world. So, yeah, when I have tough days or busy days, maybe like this, where I got a lot of shit going on, my favorite thing to do, honestly, is to put in my headphones, go on a walk, go to 7-Eleven, and get a Slurpee. Cherry Coke, that's my go-to. Like, that honestly is what
Simple
helps
as that
me.
might be. As simple as that
Yeah,
might
no,
be,
that's
how incredible it is.
that's literally what I'm gonna do as soon as like we say bye here. I'm gonna go on that
Uh-huh.
walk, and it's like again living in LA. It's crazy because you never know who you're gonna see places. Like I discovered Lil Dicky lives in my neighborhood. I saw him at that 7-Eleven a few
Love Lil
weeks
Dicky,
ago.
yeah.
Max Muncy lives like 5 houses down. So like that's
He's good at
crazy.
swinging.
Yeah, he's pretty good at swing. When they won the World Series, and this is off topic, when he won the World Series, they came back on Halloween. He was walking with his kids in the neighborhood trick or treating the day after they won the World Series. That is insane. Great guy, great
Yeah.
father. But yeah, it's you got to find those little things no matter what they are. Even if you only have a little bit, like today I only have a little bit. I'm gonna make those 30 minutes count.
Right. No. Great point. What is, and we could wrap up here. What's next? What's next for you? What's next for the podcast? Is there anything you can share, or even the 10-year picture if you've got it? Like, tell the audience
Yeah.
what we're going to expect from you in the next 10.
My dream is that the mental game becomes the biggest mental health platform in the world, which people can laugh at. That's fine. But me, that's what I really want to accomplish. And it's not because I want to be rich and famous and have all this money, but I want to be able to help people. Like, even going into downloads now, like, I know my podcast isn't the biggest in the world, but it's not the smallest. It's not like the time I started it just now. Like, I put in blood, sweat, and tears to this, and I've seen it grow and help people. And so even if, like for instance, it's cool seeing that like 1.5% of our listeners come from the UK. Like, that's so little.
Right.
But like, it's cool to see that maybe people in 30 something countries listen to it, or the fact that we're putting out these suicide prevention signs for free. I bought some of them. We had some GoFundMe raised, but like to see that we're in 44 states now with that, just because I put out something on Instagram, that's incredible. So for me, my dreams are pretty big. Like, I hope a year from now or 2 years from now, people are coming back to listen to this interview, or you and I are texting, and it's like, hey, he's on Netflix right now interviewing President Obama.
Yeah.
It's like, I
Yeah.
don't, people think I'm crazy when I say that in person at my events, but like, I've reached out to everyone I'm going to name, whether it's Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, President Obama, Michael, like whoever it is. I've reached out to the biggest names, and you might get no, but guess what? One day they might say yes. I never thought I'd sit down with Terry Crews. I never thought I'd sit down with some of the people that I've met now. And so for me, that's the goal, is to keep growing, to keep helping people. I'm working on, different ideas when it comes to, maybe, I hate the word normal people, but people ask me all the time, how do you tell stories differently? And so I want to get into some of that, like whether it's maybe, spending a couple of days playing minor league baseball, visiting a jail, doing different things with veterans. Like, there's that aspect. I'm getting into some more writing. There's
Trying to
some of
get
this stuff.
yourself in their shoes.
Yes, basically.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff is happening. I'm just trying to save myself from saying all of it out loud.
I
But
got you.
like,
I got you.
I can promise you that you're going to see different things, whether it be on camera, in writing. Like, I really think this next year, I hope, is going to change my life in a lot of good ways, and we're going to help a lot of people. And it really just comes down to the mission of saving lives. I don't care what it looks like, but I want it to grow. I want it to be something that people go to, that, like, when you see those signs that say you're not alone in New Orleans, in Baton Rouge, wherever you're listening from, you might already know what the mental game is, and then you scan it and you get a resource, or you see a documentary, or you see a book that can really, really help you when you're feeling those things in that moment.
I don't think anybody could have said it any better, bro. Saho, I can't thank you enough for jumping on here with me. And not only that, what some of the viewers don't know, he's going to be a little mentor to me since I'm into the podcast game now.
Yeah.
But no, man, your story is incredible. Obviously, it takes a ton of courage to do what you're doing, and you're doing it at a high level, and it's going to continue to grow. So, again, thank you for jumping on here, man.
Of course. And I want other people to hear this because some of the things that one of the biggest things I took away was saying, like, I love you more. And this isn't like an awkward thing. I think bros get like kind of bent out of shape about it sometimes, but like, I love you. I'm proud of you, dude. Like, I'm so happy that you're being able to find that next chapter after baseball and not letting that sport define you, even though it's something that's a big part of your life. Like, I'm really proud of you, man. And thanks for giving me a space to have this conversation.
Yeah, well, I love you too, bro. And I think we're going to do some incredible things in our near future and hopefully together in some aspects. So I appreciate it.
Amen. Thanks, brother.